Are women our own worst enemies? What a question to ask. For far too long, we fought to have a seat at the table. But are we doing enough now to help each other rise? Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Women Talk. I'm Deborah.
And my name is Zoraya Vadillo. Thank you so much for joining us today, where we are either going to be putting on our boxing gloves or taking them off, as we're going to be discussing, are we our own worst competitor? And while a little bit of healthy competition is always good, do we sometimes take it a little bit too far? That's what we're going to be discussing, female rivalry and competition.
Exactly. I mean, I think the conversation for far too long has been about men against women, right?
Yes.
At one point, women did not have a seat at the table and we weren't able to, there were discrimination, there were some real big barriers, right?
Yes.
But over the years, I mean, many years, we've seen a lot of progression, we've seen a lot of changes, and the statistics also show that. But now that women are there, you're in the spaces, the barriers aren't really true. You know,
are we really supporting each other?
Yeah.
Are we really giving each other the chance to rise up, as you were saying, or do we have the tall poppy syndrome, as they say?
Yeah.
Anyone rising too high above what we're comfortable with, just chop it off.
Exactly. I mean, girl power is all well and good, but we got to walk the talk, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
And I think that's why sisterhood is such a fascinating thing to talk about, and that's what we're going to be going into later on as well.
Yes.
But first,
I'm really excited to welcome our two guests here. Jesrina, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for
you
having
are
me.
an entrepreneur, you are a wellness startup founder, co-founder and CEO of Purely Be. Huge amount of experience in the startup and entrepreneurial world. So I'm quite interested to chat with her. She's like, not really. But to really get your insight as a woman, and you started quite a few years ago to see what you've had to overcome and what your journey has been like.
and also Zubaida and Nila, thank you so much for joining us.
It's an absolute pleasure.
She is a VFX visual artist, finalist of Epic Games UE5 Women's Competitors Program, and you've also debuted your first CGI short film titled Into the Devigation, which we were asking earlier. What does devigation exactly mean?
I know, I feel like Zoraya just said a whole bunch of things and I'm like, maybe we need to explain it to us in layman terms.
Right, yeah. So it portrays the different dimensions a post-production artist herself goes through. So I have put in my personal experiences in this film as an artist, yeah.
Wow, different dimensions. That's like a huge subject to cover. And especially in the world of VFX, I feel like it's predominantly male-dominated, I would say, or am I wrong here?
Right. I mean, well, in general, you know, perspective, it is like the ratio is very imbalanced in terms of representation of female and male. But personally, for me, I think I was encircled with a lot of male artists, but it wasn't really like a dominant environment where I was, you know, working in.
So they gave you space to thrive and to rise up.
Yeah, so I did get a lot of support from my male artists that I worked with.
And do you have other female artists that you work with as well, that you shared some kind of sisterhood bond?
Right, so it might be of surprise, but we know there is a lack of female talents in the visual effects industry, but my first visual effects producer was a female.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Was that the reason, is that how you got into it?
Right, so that wasn't like, you know, the reason how I got into it, but, you know, it was really amazing and fortunate, I would say, that I got to work with a female, you know, another female visual effects producer. And my VFX supervisor was a male, and we had a huge age gap, but I never felt for even a day, you know, the differences, you know, in the workplace. So we were sort of working as an ally, so it was really amazing.
Wow. And what about you, Jesrina? I mean, you entered, you know, as an entrepreneur, you went up that seemingly like scary world of startup. I mean, running, you know, co-founding and running your own company to begin with, and then having to go out there, look for funding, and then you get caught up in this whole VC funding. There's so many cycles and rounds, we lose track of them, right?
Series A. And,
what was that like for you? Because if you tell us a little bit about your journey and your company, Purely Be, it's a health company, and I don't know if that women tend to look at health as something more central. I don't know how men see it. I don't know if times have changed in terms of the health industry?
It's definitely more women skewed, for sure. Even our community is 80% women, even though we don't market only to women.
Right.
But I think also the way our brand is perceived is more feminine and so on. But in general, women make the household decisions.
I mean, I've heard... I've heard Purely Be all over the show, and every time it's like so many amazing women that you work with that come and speak about the brand.
Yeah. I mean, we started with 6 women co-founders. So a lot of people were like, too many cooks for the broth sort of thing. Like, how do you manage 6 women? I'm like, well, obviously there'll be one person who makes the majority of the decisions, because if everyone's sort of undecided and split down the middle, well, then it has to be a deciding factor. So that would normally be me as a CEO. But then the way we worked together was that we actually really worked well collaboratively, because we all had different skills and expertise. They were natural health doctors, they were nutritionists, they were fitness coaches, I was a digital specialist. So we all brought something different to the table. So in a way, we respected each other's opinions and then knew when would be the right sort of direction to go in if we were split down the middle. So
you didn't end up in a, sorry, I was going to say, because very often they say like, oh, decision making and being decisive is and to generalize here, they say like, oh, women, I don't, non-confrontational, but
undecisive.
But
I think in some cases, I mean, I guess it's also a personality trait.
True.
You know, some people are like more indecisive than others. I think as an entrepreneur, you have to be decisive. So if you decide to go down that path and start your own business, you can't be indecisive, and you have to be accountable for every decision you make, and you can't push the blame on anyone. It's your company. You made the last call. You have to own it.
Right. So what was if you're looking at the landscape from your lens, outside of your company, when you started expanding, you were looking for funding, what did that feel like as a female-led startup?
Yeah, I mean, it was scary, not just as a female, but just as a first-time entrepreneur.
Right.
And I had never done any of that before. I never raised funding. I didn't come from a finance background. I came from digital marketing. So all of it was really foreign to me. So that was scary in itself. But then for it to be a male-dominated tech startup industry, and that was the boom of the startup. In 2015, that's when like all the startups started coming out, and then Magic, and so on. And so it was sort of overwhelming, I would say, but it was exciting. It really was exciting. It was almost like an adrenaline rush, being part of that ecosystem. And it forced me to just be on the steep learning curve, absorb as much as I can, get as many mentors as you can. And I had like maybe 8 or 9 mentors.
And I think it's amazing as well that you had so many other women that you were collaborating with, because I think this is something that's really important, is what she was saying earlier, is everyone brings something to the table. So we're going to speak a little bit more about sisterhood, collaborating together as women, when we come back from the break. Welcome back to the show, where we are speaking about whether we are our own biggest competitors. And I think one very important thing to discuss when it comes to healthy competition and women in general working together is the idea of having a mentor, someone to look up to, a role model that we aspire towards. I think even you and I, like, we've each had our own role models that we've looked up to. Deborah, you've been one of my role models, so.
You're too kind. No, but it is important, I think, being able to see versions of yourself in women around you, and especially in industries that are newer, where you don't see that kind of female representation.
I mean, Zubaida, you had a female mentor, as you were explaining earlier, right? Your boss. Can you tell us about that dynamic?
Right. Yeah. So visual effects is a very niche compartment, like department of production, and I was really blessed to, look up to my female visual effects producer, and when I remember telling her one day that I want to be a VFX supervisor when I first entered as an apprentice. And she was like, Zu, you are not too far away from that. Continue to learn and absorb as much knowledge you can gather from your other creative artists and so on. And she was one of my I would say a source of inspiration, where I really wanted to be like her, confident and producing visual effects films, commercials, and so on. And not too far from when we had that conversation, I got an opportunity to co-supervise some Netflix commercials.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, I would say I was really lucky too, but she really motivated me to, not give up, because at times I did think of like, is this the right department for me? Because in visual effects, the hours we put in for the artwork is really long. Yeah, like until 3 a.m., 4 a.m. we're rendering and so on. But now with the advancement of the technologies, now virtual productions coming into play, pipelines are getting shorter. And so basically I would say that the not giving up, motto will really take you far.
But you said this word earlier, confidence. I think there have been so few seats and few places for women, maybe traditionally in certain sectors, that women felt that they needed to compete with each other to get that spot. I don't know if that's the case. We kind of talked about this. I don't know if that's really the case in a lot of industries and sectors anymore. So then we look at, and we've asked friends, and I've had a lot of friends say to me, oh, actually, I much prefer not to have a female boss. I prefer a male boss. And then you're kind of going, that's an interesting for a woman to say that. That's a really interesting comment. And you're going, what's up with that? So this brought us to the point of like, how are women really supporting each other rise? And so for you, Jesrina, being in this position, having, as you said earlier, having learned and been exposed to so much, are you getting enough support from women? And then how are you also paying it forward?
I mean, definitely I feel like, I'm in a bunch of WhatsApp chat groups. It's like girls in tech and so on, because everyone's binding together. They say we need to support each other. Even like compiling a list of venture capitalists that actually support and advocate women businesses, so everyone starts collating that and so on.
Okay,
so those kind of initiatives, like you can definitely see a lot of women trying to support one another and uplift one another. I wouldn't say across the board necessarily like everyone is like that, but more I would say like majority of us are like that. But what I've experienced and I've noticed like throughout my career before starting my own business is that I enjoyed having a female boss because they set the tone for me. I saw them fearless, so empowering. They had authority and they were paving the way in a digital industry which was male dominated. And I think me just starting out my career, I was like, I can be that. I can do that.
That's an amazing feeling.
Exactly. So for me, I've always enjoyed that fact. And then now I try and do that in my own company. But the way I guess every leader is different. I try to do it like a lot of compassion, empathy, not too tough love. But at the same time, try to tell them like over and over, because they're quite young, a lot of these girls or these women, it's like, you have authority. I give you the authority. Don't let them bully you. Don't let them push, because otherwise they'll say, Jess, can you come in? Can you? And I say, no. I say, you can handle this. You can do this.
Handing the torch over to the younger generation so that they can learn as well. I mean, I think it's so important to have inspirations, especially in women, and for women like you, both of you, to recognize, actually, I'm in a position where I can inspire younger women, and actually I need to bring myself to the highest possibility or expression of who I am, so that they see the example and they say, oh, if she can be authoritative, then I can. If she can be assertive, then I can. And if she can be kind and compassionate at the same time, I can be like that.
Absolutely. It's like not one or the other.
And I think also there's this thing of, if the example of a leader is, I mean, very male or very masculine in nature, and then a lot of times you think that's what you need to be.
Become the
man, or if that makes sense. But but being true to yourself, genuine to who you are as a person, and recognizing that I don't need to be something else or someone else. I can actually own my femininity or own who I am as a woman and still be a really good leader and inspire others to be better.
What feels right to you, because otherwise it's not sustainable, whatever method you're doing, because it's not true to who you are. So I think that's really important.
And sisterhood also, it's not just limited to your peers in the same age category. It's a wide range of older, younger, and everyone is inspiring one another and actually moving together in these circles of what sisterhood is. It's supporting on every age level and every peer group.
And I think not just in all settings in life, right? Not just in the home, not just with friends, especially in areas of your career, of work, of enterprise.
Yes, it's very important. Well, we'll talk a little bit more when we come back from the break. Welcome back to the show where we are speaking a little bit about female rivalry and sisterhood. And we're going to go into a little bit of what steps we can take or what advice that we have to actually cultivate better relationships with our female co-workers, with our female family, with our relationships. How do we bring it to the next level and actually see each other being empowered?
Exactly. And before we speak to our guests, we're going to jump to this video, our newly crowned Miss Universe Malaysia 2022, Leslie. She's going to share some of her opinions on what she's experienced so far in life.
Hi everyone, I'm Leslie Cham. I'm the new Miss Universe Malaysia 2022. I'm from Kuala Lumpur and my advocacy is about mental health. My new slogan is Healthy Mind, Happy Life. An empowered woman is showing by she knows that her strength and also weaknesses. She will execute the strength in any way that she could, and she will improve on the weaknesses. In this 21st century, I think empowered women, they usually is very uplifting on the other woman as well, instead of, just focusing on herself. I think I show support to the other woman during the competition just by, telling them to believe themselves. That is the most important part. And all the girls are amazing there. The best memory I've gained throughout this experience in this competition, it's when I spend the time with the girls before the final night. That's actually very precious. Everyone is trying to encourage each other, and that's how we actually gone through the period. Offering friendship during your climb in anything, it's not a weakness. I think it will be a strength, but also you have to be careful, that you need to take care of yourself. Meantime, you don't have to be afraid to offer friendship. My female role model is my mom because she is very hardworking. She is very goal-focused. She knows that what she wants in life, and she has been focusing throughout her life, and she has been showing me that the result that she has gained has tremendous. Besides my mom, the female role model that I really look up to is Selena Gomez because she is not only entrepreneur, she's a famous singer, but meantime she is being so kind to everyone, and she actually has a kindness campaign which is aligned with my own advocacy.
I love what Leslie said earlier about empowered women, or people actually empower others. And as a former Miss Universe Malaysia many years ago, you were saying earlier, it's a competition, and it is a competition. So, to the title of today's show, it's a competition. There's only one winner, but you can still come out of it building friendships, building trust, and lifelong friendships. And that's what I experienced even at the Miss Universe level.
It's so beautiful. I love seeing all of these competitors, and they're fighting for one title, but they build a sisterhood, and there's such a beautiful collaboration and friendship that comes out of that.
You don't have to be mean. You don't have to be mean and nasty and vindictive in order to get ahead. There's enough room for everybody, right? And I think women need to realize this.
Absolutely,
And perhaps for you, in Zubaida, in your industry, talking about diversity, talking about opportunities and that open door for young girls to go I want to be in that industry. I want to go there.
Right. So I would like to highlight about a very recent experience I had with Epic Games for an Unreal Engine training, where I undergone 6 weeks of training with all women. And they have selected 21 women creators across Indian subcontinent and Southeast Asia, where I got the opportunity to represent Malaysia. And it was really amazing to collaborate, holistically, all 21 women creators helping each other out. We were thrown into a new, software Unreal Engine where none of us had the prior experience. So we learned together and technically solved a lot of problems, and we created our films and basically helped each other out whenever we faced any issues. So it was really amazing.
And so many case studies actually prove that women actually collaborate really well.
Exactly.
We're very cooperative. When you put us in teams, we do fantastic. Not to say better than men, but better than men.
I mean, it's that thing that you were saying, you know, or Leslie was saying, empowered women empower each other.
Yes.
And what you were saying, if everyone brings something to the table and you realize what your own contribution is, then you actually form a really beautiful dynamic among people. But if you come and you don't have anything to offer, then it becomes this competition of, oh, why does she have the spotlight? Instead of it being like, let's both make each other have a spotlight.
Yeah. Right.
So what is it then really getting women to realize? You know, it's one thing to say don't like step on each other's head to get to the top. But what do they need to realize perhaps about themselves?
In general, I think what's really important, just mindset-wise, is that there's room for everyone. And I think why a lot of women sometimes competition, and I have experienced this once before, like in the early stages of my career, was it was sort of like, I want you to do well, but not better than me. So I uplift you to a certain point, and then no, and then you're not going to be better than me. And it was just for everyone. It was about me personally, just other women. And I think at the time, because it was about scarcity, it seemed like there was such few spots available for women that they were just like kind of hold on if there were spots available to them. But that's not the case anymore. There's so many opportunities. Industries are huge. If I give an example, the wellness industry is a $400 billion industry. One of my best friends also started a wellness company, very similar, superfoods, and we're each other's biggest supporters. Because we're like, there's room for everyone. Like, why would you feel the need to have bad competition? We make each other better. We force each other to step the game up.
Absolutely.
Right? So
it's amazing.
That's how it should be.
Power.
What a great kind of wrap up for this whole segment that we've been talking about, because that really is it. You support one another and you be each other's biggest champion and biggest cheerleader.
Yeah, so I hope you're listening, ladies. Lift each other up, be proactive, recognize the help that you got before, or maybe you never got that before, but you can be that pathway, that guiding light for somebody else, a younger girl.
All right, thank you all very much for joining today's show. And I think if there's anything that we can take away from all of this is that, yes, there is healthy competition, but if we raise each other up, we will build something much more healthy, much more beautiful,
long-lasting,
and much more long-lasting.
Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.